Welcome to our Amud Yomi Shiur. We are here in the Bava Shalom Torah Center, inviting all of you to join us for another beautiful Amud of Gemara. Bava Metzia, Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph is today's page, but we are still in the Mishnah at the end of Kuf Yud Amud Beis. And the Mishnah finishes off the discussion about Kablonus, about a person who rented a field, a person who leased a field. And the Mishnah now is going to also talk about another topic of paying people on time. A very, very important topic. Not many people know how severe that is, that if somebody did a job for you, a poor worker, you have to pay them on time. And let's go. Says the Mishnah, as you say, it's time. Says the Mishnah, a person who's mekabel, in this case, the mekabel is the person accepted the field as a renter, as a lease, meaning every year he has to pay him a set amount of money, regardless of the amount of crops that grow. Let's say the agreement was, what's shavua? Not a week. No, shavua here means a cycle of Shemitah. Let's say they decided, we are talking global, we're talking big over here. One shavua, one entire week, meaning 1 week of years, which is a Shemitah cycle. I'll pay for that the rent of 700 zuz. Now, this is not regular rent. It is related to working the ground because he's there in order to grow stuff. But at the end of the day, because it was made global, one shavua, one Shemitah cycle for 700 zuz, hashvis min minyan. He has to pay him, including the Shemitah. He can't say, well, 1 year it didn't work, so I'm not going to pay. Who cares? We spoke about a global payment of shavua, of a cycle, per what? 700 zuz, and that's where it should be. However, kibla himenu sheva shonim b'shva zuz, if the word that they used, if the verb that they used was, not the verb actually, the noun that they used was sheva shonim, 7 years, and not shavua, they spoke about individual years, b'shva zuz, the same amount of money, and a shvis min minyan, that he doesn't have to pay him for Shemitah. Why? Because we said 7 years means 700 zuz. That is, every year is 100 zuz. Because we enumerated and we actually elaborated that each year is separate. And since it's not regular rental to just, get a jumping castle and just do something in the field to rent it out for, swimming pool, it is understood that it has to do with agriculture. And it's understood, of course, within Shemitah and Eretz Yisrael. Tana always talk in Eretz Yisrael. The Mishnah always spoke in terms of Eretz Yisrael. Then the Shemitah is not something you have to pay, and only you have to pay, 600 zuz for the 6 years. That's the end of the topic of kablonus and schiros of the land, arisus and all that. In the middle of the Mishnah, we are starting here a whole different topic altogether. Schir yoim. The Torah is very particular. I'll give a small introduction. The Torah is very, very particular and very strict with people who don't pay on time. When you have to pay someone, it's better be done on time. Otherwise, it's bad news, as we'll see later. And there are a few psukim in the Torah that describe it. I'll tell you first of all the two psukim. You can actually see it in the Gemara, on the side of the Gemara. Pasuk number 1: Lo ta'ashok esre'echo v'lo tigzol. You should not steal from your friend in two different ways, oishek and gezel. And the Gemara says that theft relates to holding back his salary. That is considered as mamish theft. And it says, loitolin pe'ula sochir itcho ad boiker. The pe'ula, meaning the money that you owe him, should not stay with you like talin, should not sleep in your house, so to speak, should not stay in your house all the way to the morning. Which means once the morning comes, that's a deadline, and you have to pay him. We're going to see who's talking. Who does that refer to? The second pasuk says, you should give him the money during the day, and the sun should not set on it. You shouldn't be a matzah, the situation of sunset with the money in your pocket. You, the employer, you, the one who ordered the job, you, the balabais. The one time the Torah says that the deadline is by the dawn. In other words, once it is daybreak, you reach that point, that's a deadline. All night you pay, you reach daylight, deadlight. Daylight is deadline, and that's when you have to pay. And another one says, no, once the sun sets and the night begins, that is when you should have paid. And if you reach that point, it's too late. That's already over allowed. Let's see what the Mishnah says. Schir yoim, a person who worked the entire day, goy ve'kol ha-laila. A schir yoim, a person who worked during the day, okay, he worked now, he finished his job when? When the night, yeah, it was nightfall. The whole night, you, Mr. Employer, have the time, you have the time period, the time window to pay him. If night is over and it's daybreak, here you're over Niso Doraisa. Over Niso Doraisa of Loi Tolin. Yeah, it's already land, it's been with you, the money, for too long. So Schiriam Go V'Kol Halayla, Schir Laila Go V'Kol Hayom. A guy who worked by night, yeah, he finished working all night long, I don't know, baking bread, let's say all night long in the bakery, Thursday night, the bocher, came daytime. Daytime is when you start paying him. You finish a job and the starting time of the payment is here. The whole day you can pay him. Not a good example about actually, yeah, even Shabbos. You should have paid him the whole of Friday, the whole day, whichever day of the week that is. And then came night, boom. At that point, that's a deadline. Yeah, in other words, every person has one period, either day or night, called in halacha oina. Yeah, day or night period past finishing the job. That time the balabais can pay. Once that period is over, the ring, yeah, the bell rings, and then it is bad news. The person, the employer, was over and a set in 5 possible lavim deoraisa of as the lavim that we mentioned and we'll mention later. So again, I'm reading again from the Mishnah. Schir yom go v'kol halayla. A schir, the work during the day, a day worker, worked the whole day. He may collect his funds, his salary all night long. Once the night is over, deadline, past deadline, that's it, you're over an Easter. Schir laila goy v'kol hayom. The opposite is by night. He worked all night long. He may collect his money all day long. Once day is over and the next night comes, this point, the new balabais are in trouble deep. It's sad over Nisa Doraisa. What about schir? And we're going to explain all that in the Gemara. Schir sho'os. What happens if a person works for a few hours, not the whole night and not the whole day? Let's say he works a few hours during the day and then he goes home. He works between, I don't know, 7 o'clock in the morning till chatzos, till about 12:30 during the day, and then he goes home. What's the story with him? Goy Kol halayla ve'kol hayoim. Yes, he can collect. Excuse me. Yeah. Chirshas go v'kol halayla ve'kol hayoim. Yeah, he's going for the whole night and the whole day. What does that mean? The whole night and the whole day. Why? All of a sudden he has more time, and the Gemara is going to discuss that. If you don't understand what it means that a person gets paid for hours, half day or half night, then he gets paid what? We still give the balabais longer time, all day and all night. Why? What's the story here? Good question. Rav and Shmuel in the Gemara will explain it. Now, next one. What about a person who works for a long period of time, not one day, one night? Schir Shabbos. A person worked all week long. That was the agreement. Come to my house and work by me from Monday till the following Sunday. Schir Chodesh. He worked the entire month of what? Elul. Schir Shana. He worked the entire year. Schar Shavua. He worked an entire Shavua, Shemitah cycle. Then at the end of the day, excuse the pun, does make a difference. Yotzu bayoim, goy v'kol hayoim. If it happens to be that he finished his job by dawn, right? Or even after dawn, a few hours into the day, yeah, he was a day worker and let's say he worked by day, he finished the job, yeah, here by daytime, and he worked a little bit into the day, right? Or even the beginning of the day. Then he has the whole day to collect, and that's it. Yeah. So then the whole day you can collect. Next night, the balabais, he didn't pay him next night. When the next night arrived, the balabais is fried chicken. Here comes big surprise. If he worked into the night, yeah, if he worked a few hours into the night, then all of a sudden we say he can collect the whole night, yeah. And we don't say he's over here. The whole night, the whole day, and only the next night will be an issue. Obviously, the question is, what's the difference, right? What's the difference? The day guy, yeah, the work that finished his 7 years term, yeah, we say it's only day, and that's it. Next oina, yeah, you got to be paid, even though it's only part of the oina. The guy of night, you pay him the whole night and the whole following day. The question is why. Everything will be explained in the Gemara. But the basic idea is before we break it to hours and half days, the simple thing is, as we said before, a guy who works during the night, all night long he works. The whole day, the whole following day, he's supposed to be paid. The balabais may find time to what? Pay him. Should find time. If we reach the point of an entire oino after he finished his work and comes this point, the next night, at this happy note, when the night falls, we say that is lotov olav hashemesh. Yeah, we say lotov olav hashemesh, and you over nisa doraisa lotov olav hashemesh. The opposite is over here. You work the whole day, and then what happens? It's now nightfall. You balabais have the entire night to look for money, find money. I don't know, whatever that is, however you want to find money, pay him. If the next day came, daybreak, you over and what? Loitolin pu'ula the pe'ula, the money of the sachir, slept in your house, so to speak. Lina meaning sleeping all night long. I prefer no questions at this point, unless it's very to the point and not an if would be question.
Day to night. Yeah. Night. What is it?
The end of the day. You mean I don't know. It's a good question. Shkia and it's when the day finishes. Shkia would be Sofik Torah. I assume Shkia will be Sofik Torah. Shkia and the Tzeis. And the morning is not by Nates. Nates is only for davening. It's Alois, probably. Alois is the real beginning of the day. It's not a Sofik. Nates is for the. Okay. Good
Just
point.
differentiate between day and night and night.
Fine. So I answered. Good. Says the Gemara. Very nice. Good point. Says the Gemara. Toner Rabbanan. Let's see the brisa. Minayin l'sachir yoim shegoy v'kol halayla. How do you know that the guy who worked all day long, right, finished his work by, let's say, shkia? I think by probably with shkia, by the way. He finished his work by shkia or between shkia and says shegoy v'kol halayla. How do you know? We give the balabais another what? Another oino. It's called oino, like in nida, in nichas nida, right? Every half day, every halachic 12 hours, night or days in oino. How do you know that you give the balabais the whole night long to collect this one? The whole night, the balabais may have time to pay him. Talmud loymar loitolin pula sachir yitcho ad boiker. The pula of the sachir, the money of your sachir, of your worker, should not sleep in your house. Tolin. Lalun doesn't mean to sleep, means to sleep all night long, to spend the entire night. Yeah, Rashi brings many proofs. Yeah, loilin chelech chagiat boiker. Like in korbanos, right? A korban's not allowed to be on the mizbech the whole night. Yeah, the sharei korban, yeah, what the kohanim supposed to eat. Yeah, but if they eat it in the middle of the night, it's okay, right? Preferably chatzos. Yeah, lamaisa, if it's lan the whole night and now it's daybreak and the money is still with you and you have the money. If you don't have the money, you're not over. By the way, you have the money and you're just too lazy. If you didn't pay him and day arrived, you are fried chicken. You're over nisa doraisa. Of lotolin pulasochet chad boiker. People don't know that it's an isra doraisa. Uminayim the sochir laila shegor v'kolayom. How do you know that the night worker came daybreak? Daybreak came. He's dying to go home to sleep. The whole day you may pay him, and if the next night came, the next nightfall came, you are in trouble. Shenema beyoyim atitan schoroi. That's mitzvah to say. Give him the beyoyim during the day. Give him his sachar. And the pasuk later says that what loy tolin. Yeah, excuse me, loy tova olav hashemesh. Yeah, the sun should not set on it. No, that's tova olav hashemesh. Yeah, in other words, the sun should not set, should not have shkia. Don't be in matzav of boy hashemesh of shkia with the money in your hand. How do you know? How do you know that? Maybe it's the other way around. Which means what? Maybe the night guy. I know that there are two psukim. One pasuk tells me the deadline is basically the end of day. The other pasuk tells me the deadline is the end of night. These are the two psukim. Maybe we'll swap and say what? That you have to pay me even earlier. Maybe the night guy has to be paid before finished work. Or before he finished working, he has to be paid. Maybe, I don't know, maybe that's what the halacha demands, maybe 2 minutes before, but before he went home, and maybe the guy worked all night. Before he goes home with his nepesech on his back, then you have to give him, and if daybreak came, then you're in trouble. And the day guy, you have to pay him while he's still working during the day. and when night fell, you're already in trouble. How do you know that you have that extra time of mercy for the employer? How do you know? Answers the Gemara, very good. There is a halacha, which we mentioned before in a few places. Schirus, we have psukim that teach us that schirus is only paid at the end of the work, like is normal to be done, as is the norm today, based on halacha. Schirus, if you rent someone, you hire someone to do hourly work, per hour per day, at the end of the term, that's when you begin to owe him. So you can't say, if that's when my choiv started, if that's when the beginning of the debt started, let's say the night guy, he worked all night long, before night is over, and he works all night, before night is over, I don't owe him anything. How can be mechayv me for not paying? I don't owe him yet. Are you going to be angry with me for not listening to shofar today? Or even the second before Rosh Hashanah? No, the second before daybreak of Rosh Hashanah, there's no chiyuv. You can't say you're over. The chiyuv only starts here at the end of his work. And if the Torah tells you that when night fell, you have trouble, must be that that there is a period in between finishing the job when you start the chiyuv and until deadline, there is a whole oina, in this case daytime, came the next oina, the next night fell, that's when it's ready deadline, that's trouble. Tono Bono, there are many, many details. I saw some of it in Shulchan Aruch today, some of it I didn't. And let's see together, we'll discover the sugya together. Tono Bono asks the Braisa. Yeah, if the Torah tells me, loitolin, what's lalun? Lalun doesn't mean to sleep like that. Lalun means to be somewhere all night long. If it says that pe'ulas sochir, the money of the sochir, the money of who? The employer, should not stay with you in a form of lina all night long. Ein yodeh shad boiker. I know it's still morning. Lina means till the morning, right? Why do you have to tell me the same thing twice? Matad l'mudlomer ad boiker. Why is the Torah tell me, it shouldn't stay with you the whole night until the morning, What's the chiddush? Answers the Braisa, it's a Braisa. Melamed, it's teaching me, she'eino oiver ela ad boiker rishon bilvad. Oh, in other words, once you hit the deadline, let's say, what's a deadline? Daybreak, right? It's a daybreak. It's a day worker. Better paid him shkia. You have 12 hours. Daybreak, deadline. You only over once, right? You only live once. This Isser you only over once, which means some Isurim you're over every second of the day, as we're going to see soon. Yeah, if somebody is in trouble, he's over in certain things, you're over every minute. This Isser is a one-off. Yeah, you didn't pay him, and you could have, and you didn't. You were lazy, you were negligent, you had other things on your mind, or you did it on purpose, even worse. Then you're over once. Mikan va'elach mai. What does that mean? From now on, Mr. Poor Little Worker doesn't have his money, and the Baal Bais says, okay, I was over once, which is bad enough. Now what? Isn't there any obligation to Baal Bais? Omarav, there is an Isser derabonon, actually. Over mishum Baal Tashe. Baal Tashe is not an Isser d'oraisa, according to Shulchan Aruch, an Isser derabonon of do not lehashot, do not delay. Yeah, do not do hashaya, do not delay the money in your hands. Omar Rav Yosef Mikro, well, what's the pasuk for that? Rabbanon don't just invent things. Which pasuk in the Tanakh is this prohibition based on? The Al Baal Tashe. It's a pasuk in Mishlei that says, Al tomer lereacho, don't tell your friend, lech v'shoiv. Lech v'shoiv means come back today, tomorrow, in, out, see you on Sunday, I'll email you, I'll call you, I'll pay you, Sunday, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Thursday is telling him to go come Shabbos, I'm sorry. My next door neighbor's cat had a levaya, and I had to go to the cousin of my shviger's vad bais chasana. I'm very busy, I can't pay you, and the guy's starving meanwhile. Al tomer lecha lech v'shav umocher eiten, and tomorrow I'll give you the yesh itcha. You have the money. You have the money, and you're like, the guy's rich, you're comfortable. For you, those 100 shekel is like small money, plain girl. The guy's dying for the money, and you over, and that Isser derabanan of Baal Tasha all the time. All the time you over, either every time he asks for it or every minute, but that is a repetitive, ongoing Isser. As long as you didn't pay him, you're over in the Isser of Baal Tasha. But the Isser of Baal Yolin or Al Tovel of Hashemesh, that is a one-off when you broke the deadline. Tonu Abonon. Now comes the Mishnah asking about the Braisa, describes the situation of what happens when there is a boss and there is a headhunter, right? There's a guy who works for recruitment and another guy who's the actual CEO. Yeah, in other words, I want to paint my house. I don't have koyach to deal with painters, let's say, although some of them are very nice people. But what? And I'm asking someone, Ellen, do me a favor. You know about painters very well. Do you mind please hiring renting or hiring a painter for me, for my house, for Rosh Hashanah? What would be the case over there? Oh, do you mind? Okay. I didn't say you should paint. You should look for a painter for me. Says the person told his friend, go out and hire workers for me. Okay. Wow. Maker adin, neither of them has the Isser of Baltolin. Why? Yeah, in other words, let's say the guy wasn't paid on time. I'm talking about the one off when that crucial moment of deadline, either beginning of day, beginning of night arrived. Neither the boss nor the headhunter, none of them are over in the Isser of Baltolin. Why not? Oh, Sachir means someone, yeah, the Torah uses the lotion of Sachir. The Torah says, Lo tashok esreacha, peulas Sachir. Lo talin peulas Sachir. Sachir means a hired person that you hired. If I'm the balabais, I didn't hire him. Because I didn't hire him, technically, I did not hire him, therefore, I don't have to pay him. I don't, of course, I have to pay him, excuse me. But I'm not over the actual Isser Doraisa of Lo Tolin Pula Sochir is not my Sochir because another guy is the one who hired. Oh, what about the hiring guy? What about the recruitment department? They're not chayiv either. V'zeh sufficient pe'ulosoi etzloi, right? It says Lo Tolin pe'ulosoi. His pe'ula, his money. No, his pe'ula, it's not the money. The result of his money, his good work is not in my house. Yeah, if you got the painter to come to my house, you can tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that painter is not someone who worked in my house, he worked in Akiva's house, in someone else's house. Because one guy is not the Sochir, the other guy is not a Pe'ula, therefore nobody's over on Baal Tolim. Now, nobody says that it's right not to pay, we're going to see exceptions, but by the letter of the law, actually, there is no Sochir of one person, the other person, there's no Pe'ulosoi. The pe'ula, the results, the good work that he did, is not in the house of the recruiter. So the recruiter is not chayiv. That's the end of the brisa. What's the story over here? The Gemara wants to find out what is this loophole going on over here. It's a brisa. We have to understand. Hechidami. What's the story? If the person who hired said, "I'm in charge of your sachar," he went out and hired a few painters to come to the balabos's house. And he said, I'm in charge of the Sechar, Schoroi Olavu. Then although he's not really the one who's going to give them the cash, right? But because he assumed some kind of responsibility, and he said the Sechar is on me, then he is called Schoroi Olav. Then he will be over what? The Isur of Baltolin. Who? The Tanya. We bring a proof as we saw a few prokim ago. Asercher Sapoy Lasus Besheloi, the Rabbi Shel Chaveroi. A person hired a worker and says, come paint in my house. And really, instead of painting in my house, I wanted to make a surprise to my next door neighbor. And I used the painter and says, here, paint over here. He thought it's my house, really it's someone else's house. You can't play that game of, falling between the cracks. Because Mr. Painter was misled to think that I'm painting my house, I have to pay him with my money. My house wasn't painted. Later on, the nice, good Samaritan here, the one who wants to be good and paint someone else's house, he should go back to that someone else and charge him back. And that's the whole sugya of Noteach, the whole thing. You pay him something. But in any event, if the recruiter says Yoscharchim Olai, and actually, even if he didn't say anything, but they understand that someone has to pay. And the only guy they spoke to, right, they say, you're the guy I spoke to. You're the guy who got me. You didn't say anything about other people paying. Then, of course, the one who recruited, as long as they didn't say that the balabas pays, as long as they think that the payment comes from the pocket of who? Of the recruiter, then he's one chayiv, and he will be over on Baltolin. So when did we say that it falls between the cracks? So it's richa the omar lus chochem al balabais. Oh. If he told him, listen, I'm upfront with you, I'm clear with you, I'm just a recruiter, I'm just working in the company because I get my Yutzi 8,000 shekels a month. That's all. I'm not the guy paying. I'm not the CEO. Yeah. And who's paying? He's this guy. The big guy's going to pay you. Scharchem Olov. The guy who's paying you is going to be the balabais, the manager, the big guy. And I'm out of that. Then nobody's over on Baltolin. Still, why? Because Mitzad, who is in charge of the money, is who that is the Baal Habais. This Chorchem is the Baal Habais. The recruiter is not over, right? The recruiter is not over. Why? Because he said Chorchem al Baal Habais. And if he said Chorchem al Baal Habais, is Potter. On the other hand, Baal Habais himself did not hire them. Because technically the act of Schilus wasn't done by Baal Habais, therefore he's not over. Because the word Sochir means somebody that was hired by you, through you, from you, and everything you. Right? What? Very nice. That's a chiddush. We don't say shlichus. Very nice. I'm learning shlichus now in the afternoon. Very nice. We don't say shlichus shalodem choiso. You know why? Because the psukim tell you otherwise. Very, very nice point. It's one exception to the rule. There's no shlichus. Why not? Because here we have special psukim of sochir and peula. These two extra words in the Torah tell me that only a person who's in charge of the payment, either the person in charge of the payment, then yes, then he has to pay. Yeah. Then enechanami is mechuyev, right? Enechanami. But if the person who recruited is not the one in charge of the money, then there's a special ptur in the Torah. In other words, if you're recruited and the money is on the shoulders of another guy, then it falls between the cracks, and there is no Isser of Baltolin. However, for those of you who care more about the Poyalim, and believe me, I do, the Shulchan Aruch says, if I'm not mistaken, that there's no Isser Baltolin, that one-off boom Isser of the deadline point, of that spot. But later on, if they come to Balabais, and Balabais has the money after that morning, after that crucial point, they come to Balabais and they say, Balabais, we did the job for you. That man over there told us that you are the big man. We located you. Here you are. Pay us. And he goes, of course I'll pay you. In a month's time, when, my third cousin once removed is about to finish getting married in Boca Raton, then I'll pay you. And then they come again in 2 weeks' time. Then it's them a month. Then it's this. Then it's a Chagim, Rosh Hashanah, Beuman, whatever. Bechula. He keeps schlepping them every time like that, every day or every minute. He's over on the Isser of what? Of Baltashe, Isser D'Rabbanan. That is there. But the Isser of Baltolin, the Isser D'Oraisa of that reaching that boom point, that the Balabais is not chayiv, the Poil is not chayiv, and the recruiter is not chayiv. Yeah? Because he recruited and not the other one. And the Achrais of the money is another person's Balabais. One second, please. Yehuda Bar Marema, two very, very short stories, not really stories yet. 2 points of the Ameroim. How did the Ameroim behave regarding that? Yehuda Bar Marema, Omer Leleshame. Yehuda Bar Marema, was a choshev mensch. He wanted not to be over the Isser of Baltolin. He told Leshame, he always asked his servant, his shamish, Zil Agerli Poyalim, you should get the Poyalim, you please hire Poyalim for me, workers for me, and tell them, in order that both you and I will get off the hook regarding the Halona Schar Sochir, you hire them and tell them that the responsibility is on me. Since I'm not hiring and you're not paying, it falls between the cracks. Toisus, of course, says, Chas v'sholom, not that he wanted to push them off. Elamai, he was scared, maybe he won't have time. Now, of course, he was going to pay them on time. This is a person mentioned in the Gemara. In case if Chas v'sholom, he misses it by a minute, or he forgets, he wants to cover himself not to have an Issa Doraisa. Now that he's planning on using a halachic loophole against them. One more point, and I'll listen to you. Maremer Umar Zutra, Agri La Dodi. Maremer Umar Zutra, two Heilig Ameroim. They had an agreement between them that they always hired people for each other. Whenever I need a painter, you are the one who's going to speak to the painter. Whenever you need a plumber, I'm going to call the plumber for you. And this way, nobody's over Baltolin just in case Chalila, anything goes wrong. We are so scared of Issa Doraisa, we won't do the Issa Doraisa. This is a good more before Rosh Hashanah to show us how the Meroim were so scared of Isurim, not Chalila, they were planning on playing games, but if anything happens, Tessa says, that be covered by using a mechanism, a system in which there is no a problem. What is your question now? More on the same subject of paying people on time. Hani shukoi the surah. Those sorchim, the merchants of surah, right? The people who would hire workers in the town of surah, and they lo avu mishum baltolin. When they didn't pay people on time, there's no problem about baltolin. Why not? Mishum meida yadi dal yom shuka smichi, which means everybody knew that those merchants were not open 24/7, yeah, 6 even, yeah. They would pay people always by the next market day, right? There was a market day. If you work for a surah kind of guy, you know that they pay by the next market day. Let's say now it's Thursday. It's a well-known thing that even the workers would realize that payday is next Monday or next Thursday, whenever the next Yom Shuk is, the next market day, and therefore there's no problem of Baltolin, right? So even though you worked for him, let's say on Thursday, you know next Monday is it, and that's it. So there is no, since the next morning came, or I'll tell you even more. Let's say you painted his house on Sunday, nothing to do with the market, but you know that he gets his money next Thursday. Yeah, you're waiting 4 days, right? Next Monday morning arrived. Hey, Baltolin? No, there is no Baltolin. Because when you came to the house, you painted the house of a surah merchant. You know, surah merchant, they always pay on Thursdays. That's paid. Look in the modern day world, right? Not going to come to your company. Why wasn't that paid? You paid every 20th of the month, right? But I don't know who Google. You work for Microsoft. I don't know when they pay. Yeah, the 20th of the month, the 5th of the month. That's when you get paid, right? You're not claiming anything before. One second. So even though there were many mornings of potential Baltolin, there is no Baltolin. However, comes the punchline. Oh, let's say market day arrived. This is something very important now. Market day is not the new day of Baltolin, right? We spoke about the deadline time, right? In other words, it's not a new deadline. Let's say he worked all night for a surah guy, came the new day. No, it's Monday. You know I pay on Thursdays. Okay, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Maybe Thursday morning, right after the shuk is closed, maybe then he's over Baltolin. Yeah, no, he's not over Baltolin. Why? Because Baltolin is either the first day or never. Get what I'm saying? Baltolin is always the morning after. So if you know you're supposed to be paid the week after, this guy will never be over Baltolin. What's going on? Avil Mishum, like I told you, Mishum Baltashe Vade over. If Mr. Surah merchant, after a whole week went by, which is okay to go, he pays only the end of the week on Thursday. But if you know that you deserve the money, you knock on his door and say, hi, market day's over, you cashed in money, I saw you, you have money, I want to be paid. And then he goes like, yeah, I need the money to buy my daughter's her 15th Barbie doll, and I need it for the chassan of Mashviga's cousin once removed in Australia, v'chule, starts giving you stories. He's over on what? Of Baltashe. A person who starts delaying the work, the salary, even after the one allocated time of Baltolin, he's still holding it back. There's no Baltolin, but there is a general Durabanan Isser of Baltashe, and that is over, right? Either if he says come and go, or if he outright, we'll see other cases, or he just says, I'm not paying you because I don't like you anymore, he's over in Baltashe. Now we're going to explain the end part of the Mishnah that discussed people who don't work all night, and all day. They work part of the night and part of the day. Not everyone works all day long, right? In the modern day, yeah, you work. Maybe some people work half day till chatzos. The Poil came and he painted the house, one room. How long did it take him? 9 o'clock in the morning till 12:30. The whole room is painted. That's right. No, yeah, not science fiction. And what, 12:30? Oh, so it's half a day. What do we do with that then, right? Yeah, what's halacha? Says the Gemara. Very funny. The Mishnah says somebody who's worked a few hours, he can be paid. His paid can be delayed the night and the day. What does that mean? Now we're going to see Machlokes Rav Ushmuel. Then we're going to compare it to the Mishnah. So let's see. Yeah, Omar Rav Schir Shois, a person who's hired for a few hours a day. The Yom, meaning he came 6 o'clock in the morning and left, let's say, Chatzos, 12:31, half a day, let's say. Then his day finishes when? The whole day from Chatzos till, let's say, Shkia, is when you're supposed to collect the money and everything is good. If night came, Half day is like the whole day. Yeah. Came nightfall, deadline. The balabais is over in Isser already. Schir shos delayla, go v'kol halayla. If he worked from shkia till midnight, babysitter, that's a good one. People delayed the sellers or babysitters. The mitzador, avrechim, chashuvim. Yeah, the girl wants her money. She came to look after your 5 screaming babies from 8 o'clock in the evening past shkia till 12 o'clock at night. You came back from the chasana and you told her, I'll pay when I can. Yeah, then really, what should you do? Pay her all night long. In other words, you can still pay her as long as it's night. Once it's daybreak, you over doraisa already of what? Of loitolin imchapula socher ad boker. Okay, that's in other words. Rav says basically, yeah, half day is like the whole day. Shmuel Omar, Shmuel says no. Shmuel says something interesting. Schir shois the yoim goy v'kol. The day I agree with you, Rav. If the guy works from morning till lunch, let's say, then we give the balabais what the remains of the day, meaning what? Till night. Pay, find money, get money. And then night fell, oh, that's already an Isser. However, here comes Shmuel's punchline. V'schir shos delayla, if the guy's a night worker and worked, let's say, half a night, go v'kol halayla v'kol hayom. Did you hear that? The babysitter, the one who worked from 8 o'clock in the evening till 12, she has the whole night to get paid and the whole following day, and only next shkia, that's when it's already past the deadline. Okay, so if it's daytime, a person, this is now Shmuel and Rav. Both Rav and Shmuel agree. The guy started his work morning and half day he worked until night. Yeah, you're supposed to pay him, and that's right. That's the right time to pay. Came nightfall. Oh, then lotov elavashem doraisa. It's not the whole day; it's part of the day. So what? Mashenkin says Shmuel. Nighttime. Rav says same thing by night. Yeah, she finished her job 12 o'clock at night. The babysitter, chatzois alayla. Then pay her 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Come to her house and give her the money until daybreak. And daybreak comes. Oh, done, finished. Says Shmuel, no. By nighttime, we have the whole night and the whole following day. And if she worked part of the night, she has the whole day to be paid, and only the next nightfall will be the deadline. Shmuel's reason is very, very simple. All of us either know when does Shabbos start, when does Yom Kippur start, when does any day start? At night. Shmuel says we should follow what? The halachic days. Halachic days. So if you started by day, well, the day's over here. If something started the Shabbos day, whatever that is, it finishes Motzei Shabbos. But if you started middle of the night, if you finish middle of the night, you have the whole halachic day, and we all know the day starts by night, right? The night goes first. We learn it from Bereshis. Yeah, night and then day. So you have all day long. So that's a machlokas. Rav says we work by business days, and therefore business day is half a day's night. Yeah, no business, no funny business. Came daytime, you're fried. That's it. That's the deadline. Shmuel says no. We work with halacha. Halacha says night and day. That's the unit of 24 hours. You have until the end of 24 hours, less than 24, until that unit called Yemama, night and day together, is over, like Shabbos, like Yom Kippur, like Purim, like anything, and that's how you pay. That's very simple, Machlokes Rav Shmuel. Oh, the question is, of course, now, how would they read the Mishnah? Oh, Tanan, we're in the end of the second wide line. Kuf Yud Aleph Amud Aleph. Nan. It says in the Mishnah, Schir shois goy v'kol halayla v'kol hayom. Oh, somebody who works for a few hours, we don't know day or night, is going over the whole night and the whole day. According to Shmuel, that's good. That's a night guy. We remember we read the Mishnah wondering why. Why night and day? Shmuel says, the Mishnah is on my side. The guy worked a few hours by night. He gets paid all night and all following day. When the next night falls, then Balabais really broke the line and broke the Isser. But Yufta de Rav, what are you going to do with that, right? According to Rav, day or night, you never get more than 12 hours, right? You never get more than the beginning of the next period, right? There is no such thing. So what do you mean all night and all day, all night? What does that mean? Answers the Gemara. No. Rav says no problem. Let's dodin ktani. You misread the Mishnah. The Mishnah should be broken into two parts, meaning schir shos the yoim go the kol hayom. Nobody gets paid day and night. It's day or night. That's what the Mishnah meant. Day and night, meaning either or. If he's a day guy, go the kol hayom. If he worked part of the day, he can get paid until the day is over. If If it's a guy who worked a few hours by night, then he gets paid until the end of the night. The next day is bad news. Yeah, that's Rav and that's Shmuel. Yes, that's where it goes. That's Rav's deadline. That's Shmuel's deadline. Is the beginning of the next night, and each one reads the Mishnah his way. All very good. Tnan. However, let's look at the very end of the Mishnah. Sefer to Besefa. The end of the Mishnah. It says there, Hoya Schir Shabbos. A person worked a whole week. Schir Chodesh, a whole month. Schir Shon, a whole year. Schir Shavua, a whole cycle of Shemitah. Yotze Bayoim, Gove Kol Hayom. Listen to this. Now those words are going to resonate exactly like Shmuel. Yotze Bayoim, if he happened to finish his 7 years term, he finished it by day, then Goive Kol Hayom. You still have time to collect and give him the money all day long till nighttime. Everyone agrees to that, by the way. That's not a machloikes. Punchline. Yotze Balayla, Gove Kol Halayla B'Chol Hayom. Opa! If he left by night, if it happens to be that his term finished, he works for 7 years, it says in the contract with the lawyer from 7 years ago, your term finishes that night, 11 o'clock at night. Let's say, what do we say in the Mishnah Mefurash? That's like Shmuel. How would Rav live with that Mishnah? Mefurash against Rav. Don't worry. Rav has a strong card under his belt. Tanoihi, machlokes between Shmuel and I is a machlokes Tanoim already. You quoting me a Mishnah, you're scaring me with a Mishnah. Our Mishnah follows the opinion of one Tana. I'll show you now very soon a Brisa that tells you there's a different opinion of a different Tana, not like our Mishnah. Our Mishnah is not the only game in town. Says the Brisa here, it's very simple. The Tanya, it says, Schir shows the Yoim, Goy v'kol Yoim. Schir shows the Laila, Goy v'kol Laila. That sounds exactly like Rav, right? Partial day guy gets till the end of the day. Partial night guy gets till the end of the night. And that's exactly like Rav. And who says that? Divrei Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda followed by Rav. Rav is a follower of Rabbi Yehuda here. Shimon Omer, Schir shows the Yoim, Goy v'kol Yoim. If you worked part of the day, you have until nightfall to be paid, and then it's deadline. Shows the Laila, go v'kol halayla v'chol hayom of who? Like Shmuel. Shmuel is supported by Reb Shimon. So Rav followed Reb Yehuda, Shmuel followed Reb Shimon, and everyone's happy. So therefore, don't attack me from the Mishnah. I have another big daddy to rely on, and then is Reb Yehuda, and Shmuel follows Reb Shimon. Shin Shin, we can remember that. Bikan Omru continues the Brisa, very strong language. The Brisa says, Mikan Omru, from here we know, whoever kovesh holds back, like he holds back to himself the schar sochir, the salary that the other person deserves, over b'chamisha shemos halolu ve'aseh, is over 5 lavim d'oraisa, Rabbi Isai. Yeah, you check the bugs? Shoot, yeah, 5 lavim every worm. There are 5 isurim potentially if you hold back and you don't pay people on time. Plus, there's a mitzvah saseh shlomo. Also, there's an aseh you're mekayim if you do pay on time, and if you don't, you're over the aseh. And also, it says in Shulchan Aruch, based on the, I think it's more later on too, that a person who doesn't pay on time is as if he took away his neshama. Wow, it's not retzicha, but it's like, you know, you're not in the right direction. It's also similar to Gemara we saw before. Whoever goizel is like we saw such a Gemara before in a different context. It's a similar idea. So if you don't pay on time, beware that this is big news. Again, the comforting news is, before we continue, is that it's only if you have the money. If you don't have the money and you tell him, I'm sorry, I don't have the money, then it's a different thing. Or if he's moichel really, or if he knows he's supposed to be paid the next market day, b'chule. There are conditions, but if you have the money, and you just go, I'll pay you another time, you're just holding it, you have like 10 things on your mind, yeah? So the first thing on your mind, before your children's new shoes or whatever, your wife's sheitel, the first thing you should have in mind is paying the guy on time, because this is a very urgent thing. What are the 5 lavim?
Rabbi Teichel, can I ask a question?
Once I'll make it quiet. Yeah, 1 second. Yeah. You're asking why it's so severe. The Torah says his nefesh is for that. He needs to eat. It's a very cruel form of gneva. He worked and worked and worked like a whatever, yeah, like a certain animal. And then what? Now finally pay him on time. That's it. Now it came and dangling the sweet in front of him. Expectation, hope, yeah. No, it says nafshay. Let's continue now. I appreciate your patience. Thank you. Now, Mikan Omru. So again, what are the 5 isurim izoiver? Mishum bal tasha kesrecha. Do not steal from your friend. It's a form of theft. We're going to see the difference between this and second one. Umishum bal tigzoil. Do not steal. Oishek and gezel are 2 forms of theft, and the Gemara will explain the difference later. Okay, you are basically stealing from him. You have the beautiful painted home. You have the beautiful whatever that is, the haircut on your head. You have whatever that is, yeah. And what? And you're not paying. You have something of his, so to speak, his work by you, and you're not paying. These are 2 forms of theft, oishek and gezel, to be explained the difference between them, but both of them are there. Mishum baltashoik schir sochir oni. That's a third one. You oishek is sochir oni. Your oishek, somebody who's a sochir, paid person who's poor many times. Umishum bal tolin, right? So again, that's already number 4. Bal tolin is what? When it stayed by you the money all night long and you didn't pay, right? And you should have paid already, yeah? Morning came, at that point it's a deadline that you have to yover the isodo isa. Umishum na comes the asay. In the middle of the list of the bad stuff comes the good one, the Yomi titan schoroi. The mitzvah says if you do pay on time, the Yomi titan schor, give him the schar during the day. That is for the night guy, right? You have to pay him during the day. But if you didn't, you're over an asay. You broke an asay. You did not fulfill an asay. It's also bad. And the 5th one, umishum lo tova olav hashemesh. The 5th one is the other case of what? Lo tova olav hashemesh, that the guy who worked by night and supposed to pay him all day long, now came the sun. There was sunset of the next night. I'm over the lot aseh. If you notice, there's a trick over here. Says the Gemara, when would it be over all 5 of them? Hani dika be'imama leka belelia. Dika belelia leka be'imama. You'll never be over both in the same occurrence. Those that exist by day don't exist by night, and vice versa, right? You can't be over both day and night unless you pay to different people. But the same worker, the same occurrence, the same case, can't have both. Either worked by night or by day. So either you're over by night or by day. Answers the Gemara, true. It's true that not all 5 you can break together at the same time. However, Omar Abchi is the shem schirus be'alma. The concept of schirus, conceptually there are 5 isurim. It's true you're not over all 5 together. You can be either over 4 or the other 4, right? 3 of oishek, gezel, and or lot of shemesh, by the way, is also only by day, not by night, right? Lamaisa, you'll be over 3 surim, either, yeah, each direction. Lotasok, lotigzol, and then tovel of shemesh, and then also baltolin, either or. Either baltolin or lotovoi. But conceptually, there are 5 isurim there out there. Sometimes we'll be over this, sometimes we'll be over that. Like the Chofetz Chaim, the beginning of Chofetz Chaim, what is the right Shmir Saloshan? It tells you, the beginning of the Chofetz Chaim, there are how many? Over 20, 30, I don't know, Isurim and Asim connected to Shmir Saloshan. Not all of them are coexist. Yeah, it's Loshanor about your father, Loshanor about a Dayan. Let's say your father is not a Dayan, yeah? I'm saying, but the Etzem, conceptually, so many Isurim exist there to show you how severe that is. Now, Frag the Gemara, as I promised you, the Gemara is going to explain Ezu Oishek ve'ezu Gezel. What's the difference between Oishek and Gezel? You ask a Hebrew speaker, La'ashok and Ligzol basically are the same. And then, by the way, Rashi points out something very important. The Isser Loi Tigzol is mentioned in the parsha of where? Of the person who is holding back a salary. He is called a thief. To actually steal money, to actually take the wallet of someone, you know, like a nice pickpocketer, and actually take it from him, that we learn from other surim, from Oino, from other lavim. But the lav of lotigzol actually refers to the person who holds back the money. So there's a lav holding back lotigzol, yeah, you stealing by holding back what he deserves, and the other one is lotashok, that lotigzol and lotashok. What's the difference? Not steal, don't steal. What does it mean? Amav chizda. Now you have to remember, gzela is a former, more aggressive form than oishik. Yeah, because what's gzela? What's classical gzela? We all think to snatch itself. He snatched the chonis, the spear from the hands of the Egyptians, such as Torah in the Tanakh, to snatch his gzela. So even this white collar gzela of not paying the worker, if it's gzela, it's a stronger form, and therefore, Omer Rav Chizda, pshat number 1, Rav Chizda says Rav Chizda. Lech v'shoiv, zeu oishek. If the guy is a very nice guy, big smile on his face, come back Sunday. On Sunday, it's Thursday. On Thursday, v'chule v'chule. He has to get ready for his any cousin's pidyon and ben's shchumish suda, whatever. Every time he has something else, like people give tzedakah to fundraisers, they also do that. Yeah, that is oishek. That's more of an elegant form. That's oishek. Yesh lecha biyodi ve'eni noisen lecha zeu gezel. If he outright aggressively says, "Yes, I have your salary, but I don't give it to you because today you sat in my seat in Shachris, or because you're not nice to my child. I don't know what. I'm not paying you on purpose. Yes, I don't care. I have the money in my pocket. I'm not giving you because it's more aggressive. It's more similar to classical gzela, and that is defined halachically as gzela. So oishek is a white collar more. Gzela is I'm not paying you, okay? And that is called gzela. However, none of them is taking money. Both of them refer to what? To holding back the salary. Very nice. Maskif Rav Sheshes. Correct, Rav Sheshes, the big question here, an attack on Rav Chizda. And this is something we learned before around the Peinun. Ezu oishek shechiev alav Torah korbon. Oh, remember? There are 5 types of people, 5 all related, all with a common denominator. There are 5 types of people who hold back your money, and they have to afterwards pay you an extra chomesh and give a korban oshom. Yeah, what is that? That is a person who holds your pikodon. That is, the Torah there also says, pikodon oishek, and kichesh ba'amito pikodon tzumetiad gezel oshek zamito. In other words, if a person, let's say, stole from you, and now he's denying it, and he says, I didn't steal, and he swears that he didn't steal, right? And then he admits, what does he have to do? Pay chomesh, extra chomesh, and gives a korban osham. There are 5 people like that. The one who steals, the one who finds an aveda, doesn't give back to you, the one who has your salary. And there the Torah calls oishek and gezel, or somebody who took a loan, that's a third one. Yeah, and somebody who holds back the salary, and that's called oishek and gezel, and he denies it. He's not a person who says, yes, I owe you, I'll give you tomorrow, and that's the 10th time. And it's not the guy who says gezel, it's a guy who denies and says, what? I don't owe you anything. He's defined in the Torah as oishek. So now, maskif Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes is attacking Rav Chizda. How could you tell me that oishek, gezel we'll discuss later. How can you say that oishek means a nice guy with a big smile that tells you go back and forth, come tomorrow, mañana? That cannot be. It says earlier, in the Brisa, Ezu oishek shechiv elav Torah korban. Which oishek? The same word oishek. That the Torah says you have to give a korban if you were oishek verbally. Dumia the pikodon. It's like pikodon. What is the story with the deposit? Somebody deposited money by me, and I'm lying about it. That's a classical case. The kofar lema moina. What's kofar? He came to Bezdin and said, nothing doing. I don't owe you anything. You're lying, says the one who holds it back. So how can you tell me oishek means a guy who admits, yes, of course you did a tremendously beautiful job painting. You're such a nice kid. I'll pay you tomorrow, as I said 100 times. That cannot be Mr. Oishek. Why? Because oishek is mentioned as one of the 5 people who want to deny. Oishek is one form of denying b'chlal, nothing happened. So how can you Rav Chizda say what you're saying? Now he should have also asked about gezel, because gezel is also a form of holding and lying. And he said that gezel means what? That he's upfront and says, I'm not paying you. I know you owe and I don't pay. That we'll leave for later. But right now the question is on oishek. Again, what is the question? We're asking, what's this word oishek? Let's do some ulpan. What's oishek? It's some kind of indirect theft, right? I'm holding your salary, lying about it. What kind of lie? No. Rav Chizda said, what is oishek? I'm not lying. I'm being disgusting by pushing you and delaying and pushing and delaying all the time, right? That's a demurrage. That's what I'm doing. That's oishek. Not true. You can't say that's oishek, because the Torah actually says the word oishek in relation as one of the 5 denial things to do with korban osham. 5 forms of denial. I'm denying that I have your aveda, that I have your loan, that I have your pikodot, and I have your salary. That's called oishek. Elo Rav Sheshes. Rav Sheshes says, I'm sorry, Rav Chizda, you're wrong. I have to find an upshat. Nasativ lecha. If he said, I gave it to you. Se oishek. It's one form of lie. He never gave it to you. He knows it very well because afterwards he's going to admit it. Yeah, he admitted the lie afterwards. If he says, "I gave you already your salary. What do you want from me? Leave me alone. I gave you." That's oishek. That's a lie, as the Torah says. He's lying purposefully. Yeah. Yesh lecha biyodi ve'eni noisen lecha zeu gezel. But if he says, "What's gezel?" We always have to define oishek and gezel. Gezel means what? Yes, I have it. I'm not giving you. You're not. You painted my house. Oh, I don't care. I'm not giving you the thing. That is also difficult, by the way. Why? Because gezel, as prescribed in the Torah, is one of the 5 areas of denial. He's not denying. On the contrary, he's mechutza. If say I'm not paying you. Maskif lo abaye. Okay, we'll continue tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we'll start again from Ezo Eshek Ezo Gezel, Bezos Hashem, and we'll continue and see the halacha also. We're trying to deal with Peretz's question and other questions as well. And now it's time for your question, Ellen. Hatzlocha uvrocha. Everybody on YouTube, Torah Anytime and Kol Haloshan, we wish you a very good day. Stay with us tomorrow, be with us tomorrow, and have a very, very good Yor. Thank you. Hatzlocha uvrocha.